I had this experience where I saw the fingertips of my past relationship hanging on to my energetic field. And as I watched one finger come off at a time, it was like ping, 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 and it like started to come off. And all of a sudden, that creates energetic space. And it was interesting the next day, literally the next day. So I moved the energy of that, going, I don't want this in my energetic field anymore. And because it's one thing to remove it from your physical space when you get divorced, but now I don't want it in my energetic space at all. Hey, everybody, welcome to another Awaken Your Relationships. And we are here to help you create the day the way you want, regardless of what's going on in your relationships. Don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, and notification bell. Why? Because Rita and I are here to help you get to a life that you absolutely love, because you deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rita, we were talking all about this, how people are in it these days. They are unpacking their stuff. The last couple weeks have been, and in life you constantly unpack, but it seems to be a lot more intense over the last few weeks. And so it's important for us to shine light on that so people don't feel like they're standing on their own island.
I do a lot of meditations where I take people, into the universe, into the darkness of the universe, into the edges of the universe, through the galaxies, things like that. And when you do that a lot, which I do, you really get the perspective that there's this whole natural flow that's happening, and we have to get into alignment with the flow, with what's already happening.
Right.
And if we don't get in alignment with what's already happening and have a little bit of, you see it coming, you're going to get flattened.
Right.
Just like standing on a beach, there's going to be high tide and low tide. There's going to be big waves. There's going to be small waves. Sometimes there's going to be a tsunami.
Right.
And we sit there in our little home, in our little world, and say, if I wish hard enough, this tsunami will not happen. Well, that's true if you get a billion of your other friends to agree with you, then the tsunami won't happen. I mean, they've proven it in New York with the meditators. They brought down crime, but that took 5,000 people or something? We create reality, but we create it in community.
Right.
And so
we're all energetically connected.
Yes. So if, let's say, government systems are messed up, or technology doesn't work, or the weather's been crazy, it's because we've all been in agreement to create this. And you can either be in agreement with those destructive forces, that unconscious way of being, or you can decide you want something better for yourself.
Yep.
And you start to find the people that can support living a balanced, healthy life, who want to create a healthy planet, who want to create healthy families, who want strong communities.
Right.
You start seeking those people out, because if you look at the world at large, the mass consciousness has created this drama.
Yeah. When I used to do all my work with Deepak Chopra, he used to call it that you're a cultural creative. And those cultural creatives, that was by research that was done by Gallup.
Yes, I love that term.
We all used to feel like we were all on our own island. But then now, over the last, 15 years, we've been finding each other. We're finding, I'll call it our soul family. And so now you feel these cultural creatives where you've always felt like nobody gets me, nobody understands me. And I'm like in this place where I'm like, what is this? And now we're starting to find each other, and it's about, really surrounding yourself around those, not only surrounding yourself, but you also have to make sure that you allow everything to fall away that is meant to fall away, and just let it. Like, you don't have to do anything, because they will vibrate away. It was very interesting. When I did this work in my last shamanic work that I did down in Costa Rica, I had this experience where I saw the fingertips of my past relationship hanging on to my energetic field. And as I watched one finger come off at a time, it was like ping, 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 and it like started to come off. And all of a sudden, that creates energetic space. And it was interesting. The next day, literally the next day. So I moved the energy of that, going, I don't want this in my energetic field anymore. And because it's one thing to remove it from your physical space when you get divorced, but now I don't want it in my energetic space at all. And because I'm choosing differently, because my insides have changed, that all of a sudden, then, like I get some emails from the teachers how my kids acted a little bit different at school. And because I shifted the energy, everybody's trying to find their new footing in their new world. And it's okay for that shakeup to happen. But sometimes when that shakeup happens, we go, oh my God. And then we go into reactivity, which then pulls it back into our energy field. And you want to be very mindful of that you are the creator of that. And you may have very good logical reasons why you've justified in a story of why you may want to pull things back, but you have to remember you're releasing and letting go. And it's important to release and let go. Whether it's employer relationships or personal relationships or family relationships or friendships, doesn't matter. Like, we really have to allow, as you step into more of your authenticity and be in those communities that support you, to really allow the other ones just to fall away, because it's okay. And we don't have to get into our retirement years to understand that.
Right. In fact, we're being called to do it now. This generation is moving very quickly. We're moving very quickly because of all these things that are happening and the connection we have technologically speaking. I mean, we're so much more aware. Cultural creatives are about 20% of the population. And so out of every 10 people, 2 people might be culturally, more that evolved sort of, that's their dharma, that's their path. And if you're one of them, then there's only one other person in that 10 people.
Oh, wow.
That, so we get frustrated because we're like, well, this person's behaving is dysregulated, and this person is dysregulated, and this person is dysregulated, and this person is dysregulated,
Well,
and this
80% of
person
the
is
other people are
dysregulated.
that makes sense.
Right. Just because we don't want to see the crap that's going on around us doesn't mean it's not still happening. And what happens is, it's not that problems suddenly appear. It's that we didn't see them and we didn't take the correct actions because maybe we didn't know what to do or didn't understand what to do. And now that there might not be as much emotion in the way, we're able to see what's really happening.
Right. Right.
And it's not, yes, we create things, but we also create them over time. So.
And you reminded me of this earlier, where you have to allow the time for it to become uncreated.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because we can do instantaneous healings where you get aha moments and you let go of all sorts of stuff. But the things that people forget is you've been carrying this for 40, 50, 60 years. Yes, we can instantaneously get a lot off your system, but if we got everything off of your system all at once, it would kill you. If you survived the physical detox of all the stress that you've suppressed over your lifetime, plus all the environmental chemicals, plus all of the everything that your body's out, the mercury, the lead, the pesticides, if it suddenly got unlocked, uncrystallized, came out of your fat, came out of your system into your bloodstream, it would fucking kill you. Sorry.
Well, let's talk about that. So I actually had some body work done. So we're talking about just allow things to let go. Well, on the physical plane, so it's one thing to allow a person to out of your life, but then there's another letting go piece on the physical front, right? So I had this body work done, and it was really interesting to me. So I have noticed in my own body that I kept increasing the intensity of the type of massage that I would get, right? To like get it out. It's that masculine push energy, right? Um, and that works up to a certain point. But then it's interesting, like I've gotten to a place now where like I'm really from a physiological front, enjoying more of like flow yoga where it's like more gentle to release and stuff like that. But in the same token, like I'm really close to releasing this core wound that is deep embedded somewhere underneath my piriformis muscle, and it has everything to do with the sexual trauma from being sexually molested from a Catholic priest when I was 5, right? So I now can feel it, I know it, and I also know that that's the piece that's creating all the physical challenges in my body, which certainly at this juncture are not significant, but I also know I need to
Which
release
is
them.
contributing to the physical challenges in your body. That's actually, that's a really important point.
Right.
Because when we're under stress, our mind goes to black and white thinking.
Right.
And we think that something is the cause, or in reality, it contributes to the problems that you have. And even if you solved and released that one, you would feel better, but you would still have other problems you were dealing with.
Correct. Yeah.
Because it's a process of polishing the mirror. And for me, my trap is every time I take a step, I go, yes, I took this great step. This was amazing. This was wonderful. And then something else happens to me.
Mm.
And then I get sick, or somebody emotionally kicks me in the face,
Right.
or some important thing in my life just falls apart, or somebody has a meltdown.
Mm.
And then we go, I'm right back here.
Right.
And it's because every time, you can't do it all at once, because as we said, it would overwhelm your system and you would die, because it's literally your body can't handle that amount of processing all at once.
Right.
But then we get frustrated because, we do something and we're supposed to be fixed, but we're not fixed.
Right.
We have to do it in the way that we can, and you keep chugging along, but it does take those 10,000 steps.
Well,
And
that's
if you
why I
only
always
take
talk
one
about.
step every 10 years, it's going to take you forever. So you just have to keep patiently every single day and watch it reverse.
Well, and one of the things that I always teach is that you take the steps in whatever continues to create a safe container that doesn't hijack your nervous system.
Exactly. You have to have
Because you
compassion
can't
and respect for you.
Because if you go any faster than that, then you trigger all your resistance. Like then you go into all your patterning and your limiting beliefs and all
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's about like, and you need to just know that that is the container that you're okay holding it in, and it just is, and there's nothing more to it than just that.
Good people still get cancer.
Mm.
Good people still have bad things happen to them. In fact, the best people usually have a lot of bad things happen to them.
Right.
Because it's the process of dealing with what those bad things bring up in you, your own blocks, your own limitations. It's that process of dealing with the reality that lifts us up. Reality is not going to change anytime soon.
Right.
We have control over our reality, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But the community reality, the communal reality, is slow moving like a glacier.
Right. Yeah, totally agree. Fascinating. Well,
Yep.
and I just really think that we have to really understand how we show up in the world and how we create it. And that every day you have to wake up and say, what am I creating today?
Every single day for years and years. Yogis don't become yogis just because they were 12 years old. They've been studying since, they were 12 years old, and now they're 85. We've got these shortcuts, sure, because we understand how the body works and we put good habits in place, and we can speed up the process, but this is your life. You're here to you're here to walk on this
Right.
path and get as far as you can with as little drama or danger as you can, but enough to keep it interesting.
That's so true. Right. Well, and that's where you have to go after the giggle. I had a client send me an email today. They were so worried about in retirement. Where do I go? Where do I live? And what do I do? And I go, well, what makes you giggle? So the first assignment I gave them was, well, I want you, because they're like, well, we just have to retire earlier. And I go, okay, where do you want to retire to? Like, we don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, your first assignment is, why don't you just go visit places and they're your vacation spots that you may consider? And one of them was where their kids lived in Seattle, and another one was, in, Southwest, another one was out east. And they tried, when they got to the fourth one, and this was over a 2-year period of time, they're like, we found it, we're gonna be here. And then they decided, oh wow, the cost of living there is a lot less than Chicago, so we can retire 2 years earlier. And then like they got more excited, and then they were like, well, wait a minute, like we started all working remotely, so why don't we just move now? And then it kind of fits the timing. And she actually had to tell her employer that, because they wanted her to keep doing it, and she's like, I just don't want to. And then it was like the adventure had to continue to up level. It's like you have to become almost like a professional adventurist in life. And because that's you being the creator and you showing up and you like saying, hey, let's do this, right? And it's really, really, really important to just love yourself enough to do that. And I get this picture today because they're like, they rented for a couple years. I'm like, you don't know exactly where you want to live. Why don't you just rent? And like they bounced around like 3 different places in town, that they tried over the last few years. And then they're like, they really got the lay of the land. And they're doing this in now their late 60s, right? And they're totally excited. They're like two little
So
kids.
it's never too late. That's lesson
Right.
number one. Lesson number two is
And you're never
when
too
you,
young either. Like some people, when they're
right.
young, they're sitting there going, well, I have to wait until blah, 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 blah. No, you don't.
No, you
No,
don't.
you don't. No, you don't.
We also learned from that when you be curious and start questioning and following the things that make you happy, you no longer need to immediately retire. You
Right.
no longer need to immediately blow up your life. When you get the things that, yeah, when you get the things that you need, you're able to flow better and flex better.
Totally.
It's when we deny ourselves our own needs that we get into these no-win situations where I have to retire now, I have to retire tomorrow because I can't take this anymore. I have to leave now, I have to do something now because I can't take it anymore.
Right.
But if you are doing the things that are healthy for you, that make you happy, you're able to go with the waves, to go with the sway, because everybody else is going to have their own dramas. Because we've got sunspots, we've got the planets always moving, we've got air pressure changes, we've got millions of influences. So people aren't going to stop having bad days, but you have to stop having bad days. And when you decide you're no longer going to live your life like that, that you want to live every moment in a place of curiosity. My latest mantra is, I'm a generous, warm-hearted woman surrounded by generous, warm-hearted people. And I say that even when I'm in the middle of an altercation, I'm in the middle of a strong, heated discussion, or I'm having a meltdown. I keep repeating in my head, I'm a generous, warm-hearted woman surrounded by generous, warm-hearted people, because that's the truth.
Right.
And if I'm generous and warm-hearted, I have half a chance to trigger that in somebody instead of trigger the pain and the anger and the shame that they live with.
Right.
So if I can have my vibration, which is generous and warm-hearted, bring out the generosity and warm-hearted in somebody else, we can evolve. One of my favorite stories is a Black man I believe it was in the 70s, who made friends with the KKK member who had even been leadership in the KKK. And through the years of him showing up as a warm-hearted, generous man with this prejudice, angry, threatening other man,
Interesting.
it changed his heart. The man became a civil rights supporter.
Wow.
Because we're all behaving like somebody we're not. We're behaving like the worst part of ourselves, the dysregulated, pain, suffering, helpless part of ourselves. And the only way we can change our environment is by ourselves, no matter how horrible somebody's being, is to try to find inside of ourselves that generous warm-heartedness, even when we're being a horrible person. Especially when we're being a horrible person, we need to find the generosity and warm-heartedness. And that's the only way we have to change the flow.
Even of ourselves, right?
Even of ourselves. So it's our responsibility to find our communities that support us, to do the things that keep us stable, to keep growing, because otherwise we're contributing to the problem.
Right.
We're not being part of the solution. And when enough of these cultural creatives come together in a manner of peace and compassion and self-love and self-respect, which does not look like being railroaded, which does not look like being a victim. It doesn't look like that at all.
About a place of empowerment.
Yes, it's about saying the truth and being okay with the truth. Right. And not having all those emotional entanglements about it, not being disassociated, like that's not happening to me, but to actually feel. I had a mentor, a 350-pound mentor who was known around the world, and he'd yell at his dog and, call his grandkids names. But he was well known for being a peacemaker. And he would be at these sacred fires and he'd be sobbing and sobbing. And I would think to myself, well, if you're so enlightened, why are you sobbing? Why isn't this just going through you? Until I really got it many years later, especially reading about the Dalai Lama. And they talked about how the Dalai Lama gets angry, has sorrows, cries, even to this day. He has all of those emotions.
You're feeling them in the moment, right?
You're feeling them in the moment and letting them go. So stop judging the feelings, just let them go. Feel them, let them go.
Well, so here's the thing. What most of us do is that the feelings start coming up and then we disassociate ourselves and then we create a story about it.
Yes.
Right? Because we're so afraid to feel those feelings inside. And it's like, no. Can you just go feel the feelings, please?
But it's terrifying. I mean, because it's the unknown, you feel helpless. It reminds you of the thing that happened when you were a kid.
So true.
We literally get hijacked by our own system, which is why when the universe is in alignment with you, when you're right twice a day because you're a clock and you're taking advantage of that time, you put into place things that will help you when everything around you is blowing up and you can't keep yourself together.
So true.
So you have to invest in the future when you're in a good space, not squander away, invest in your future so that when your future self is knocked off balance, you've already put things in place to keep you stable. Because everybody's worried about themselves. They are not worried about you. They're worried about themselves. So you have got to make sure that you're okay.
And you know what else is coming up a ton lately that I've noticed is that tons of people, to the point of you're saying worrying about yourself and not other people, we personalize other people's reactions. And we need to just, The Four Agreements is the book that talks the best about this. And I really think it's important for us to just understand that when somebody else reacts, you just have to observe it and going, it's interesting what's going on within them. Because if we don't personalize it, we can just kind of go, huh. But when you're in it and you're in the drama and the chaos and your cortisol and your body is addicted to it and all the other things that we're talking about, well, then how do you get to the other side? Well, you just stop personalizing. You kind of observe going, ooh,
Well, and then this was my dilemma with, with my mentor. It was like, well, if you are supposed to be enlightened, aren't you supposed to be objective and aren't you be able to look
Right?
at these things and not have it touch you? But that's the dysfunction too.
Mm,
There's a sweet spot between feeling what's really going on, including feeling and being impacted by other people's emotions, being part of this human community, and being able to keep your boat upright and maybe lead others or help stabilize those around you.
Right.
We're all being called to be a better version of ourselves, one
That's
that isn't
here, right? It's like
unconscious.
Earth School.
Yep. It's about
that's what it's
getting
like. It's
out
Earth
of the
School.
unconscious. And we're all just somewhere on that line. We're just somewhere.
And it's a
We're
constant
either
line. It's not something that goes away. That's the other thing I want people to hear is that we think like we get to a destination that it's there. Like, no, the next layer of the onion is just going to unpack.
Right.
And we
It's
have
just
to not
another
turn
landmark.
that into a suffering pattern as well.
Right. Because when you deal with the small problems, you notice that there's bigger problems going on. And then you deal with the bigger problems and you notice there's even bigger problems going on. The more evolved you get, it doesn't mean that the problems go away. It means that the problems get bigger.
Totally.
Because we're being called to step into that version of ourselves.
Right. Right.
And if we don't, then we're part of the problem. We're not part of the solution.
So true. Well, Rita, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, they can find me at ritahickmancoaching.com. They can find me on Facebook by just typing in my name or YouTube typing in my name. And for this year, I've been doing monthly workshops, and I only launch them for like 10 days. And I do a little master class beforehand, and then I launch it for 10 days, and then I forget about it and we close it down and I do the next month's. So it's moving pretty quick. We're in the middle of boundaries, holding good boundaries with the people you love. And next month, because of Father's Day, we're going to work on relationships with men. So in June, we'll be working on relationships with men and working on the triggers that keep us in that same dynamic, with that toxic masculinity, which we have in ourselves too. But it's patiently polishing the mirror. If every month you work on a different area of yourself, a different thing you have problems around, you let go of the energy around that, you claim more energy and you can put it towards the next part of you that you're working through.
Yeah.
So it's an accumulation of, by the end of a year, by the end of the year, we hope that people will really have cleaned up so many areas of their lives that they feel like they are ready to go.
They're ready to go. I love it. Well, and by all means, go to juliemurphy.com. I will start up my coaching. I'm going to add a new one every quarter, a new group. So I'm doing group coaching. And you can go to juliemurphy.com, just get on my email list, and you'll know when we're going to be starting the first week of August for the next one. And in the meantime, you can go to awakenyourwealthbook.com. You can get my book for free. You just have to pay for your own shipping. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today.
There you go. Thanks, Julie. Great day.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.